Oh, hi, Helen. Come on in. Lovely. You can have a seat right there. Can I get you a water?
Oh, thanks.
All right.
Do I look at you or the camera?
Thanks.
Got it.
Awesome. Camera 1 is set. Camera 2, camera 3. Quiet on the set. Let's get going. All right, fire exit. Helen, take 1. Janice, take 1. Rudy, take 1. Action.
Look, there's only one way to get through high school. You gotta have a system, you know what I'm saying? I mean, once you got a system, all bets are off. There's nothing to it. It's easy as cake. Jenks and me, what we do is, oh, and that's the other thing. You gotta have a partner, because you gotta have someone to provide the distraction, and that's me. I'm the distraction king. Serious, I mean, no one distracts teachers as good as I do. It's pretty easy, actually, if you know what you're doing. I mean, teachers are real predictable. Like, any sign that you're hurt, that gets their attention real quick. To be honest, if you can cry, and I mean, if you're a dude that can cry, that is money. But we're talking actual tears here. Salt water, none of this fakey wah-wah stuff, you know what I'm saying? You gotta squeeze out the actual H2O, and that takes practice. Not saying you want to be doing that in front of actual people, but for the purposes of teachers. So anyway, what we do is, or how we do it is right before the quiz or test or whatever you got to get out of. And oh yeah, timing's real important. You can't wait for the test to actually start or they're all kinds of suspicious. So during attendance or whatever, Jenks, he gives me the signal, like this, you know? It's best if the signal is something you do anyway, like picking your nose. What? Everybody does it. And if the teacher looks at you, you can always go, sorry, I think I'm getting a cold, and then cough a little. So anyway, Jenks, he gives me the signal, and I start crying. Then someone usually notices, like Helen. She's a real girl, you know, like sensitive, and she usually raises her hand, and then, this is genius, I whisper real loud, no, don't say anything, I'm fine. Reverse psychology. And then the teacher, like Miss Simon for example, she's history, she gets her concerned face, and that's when Jenks slips out and hits it. The alarm, the fire alarm. And then we gotta go through the entire drill, which takes like at least 45 minutes by the time we get out on the athletic field and do a head count. And then plus, if the fire squad comes, which that's awesome, by the way, that's an extra 20 or 25. So, in ideal circumstances, you can miss a full period plus 15 minutes of the next one, which is like a bonus for a job well done.
There is no way to talk about the fire other than to say that it was horrific. We teach our students fire safety. We have regular fire drills and information sessions, but nothing prepares you for this. Of course, our students are upset. Of course, our parents are upset. Of course, our teachers are upset. But as principal, I'm devastated. I live tweeted the whole thing, so if you want to know what actually happened, just check out my Twitter account.
We have a lot of fire drills. More than any other school, I think. That's why no one was scared. It's why everyone was goofing off a little. I mean, not me. I mean, it's just I was waiting to line up. Not that I think I'm smarter than anybody else or anything. I just don't have any friends.
It is true that we've had an increase in fire drills in recent years, but that just means that our students were prepared. I mean, if somebody would just explain to me how exactly lining up at the front of the classroom is gonna save my life from a fire, I mean, like being in a line is gonna magically turn me unflammable or something. It's totally typical of like high school educational systems, you know? It's literally like being in a cult. Do you know the definition of a cult? It's an organization that uses false reasoning to control the actions of its members and take away their free will. Like maybe if you line up at the front of the classroom, you'll be saved from a fire. High school's like the world's biggest cult. I've got to tweet about that.
I'm in the accelerated track, and I was supposed to take my AP French test and my AP Chem test that day, so I was pretty nauseous all week. The day before it was so bad, I thought I had cholera or maybe the bubonic plague. The European History AP is supposed to be this week, so I know what I'm talking about. I actually drove myself halfway to the ER, but then I remembered how long I had to wait when I fractured my wrist in the 3rd grade, and the truth is I just could not afford to lose the study time. Actually, that wasn't so bad. My wrist, I mean. It was career day, and Mr. Valenti, Devin's dad, he was doing this demonstration, so I got to drive to the hospital in the fire truck. My dad doesn't usually do career day on account of his career. But in this case, there was no fire truck and the APs to consider, so I just took about 63 Tums and a bottle of Pepto-Bismol and went back to my digital flashcards. My dad set them up for me so I could answer the chemistry questions in French to help me study for both tests at the same time. I'm not a naturally good test taker, so I need all the help I can get. Anyway, the exam was on the 3rd floor in the language lab, and it's like every step up there made me stupider. By the time I got to my desk, everything I'd memorized was gone. It's like someone pushed an erase button. So I was in the bathroom doing my deep breathing when the alarm went off. I'm supposed to do it before every test. My dad says it works wonders before client meetings. When I got back to the classroom, Diane Lewis and Jose Bonillo were arguing about what to do. Diane said we should wait out the alarm to finish the test, and Jose said his mom says that the College Board is really strict about regulations, so our results might be void if we didn't obey fire regulations. Mr. Michaels, who was proctoring the test, he was yelling, "Pencils down, pencils down." So Diane said we should take the tests with us. And then Jose pointed out that there would be too many opportunities to cheat on the way out, and the board is even stricter about plagiarism than they are about regulations. That's when I threw my test at Diane's head and yelled, "If you all don't get out of the classroom right now, I am sending Harvard a transcript of this inane conversation." Inane was an SAT word. I memorized a lot of them.
The situation with Frederick Jenkins and Rudy Cartwright is unfortunate. Of course, in many ways, I feel as though we failed them. As if I failed them. Of course, I was aware of their prank with the fire alarm. This is my school we're talking about. We called them in right after the unauthorized drill. Of course, at that point, the issue was with fire alarms, not actual arson. Nonetheless, we called their parents in for a serious conference. No one had caught the boys in the act, so suspension wasn't an option. You have to understand that one simply can't suspend a student without proof. You have to understand that we weren't ignoring the problem. Our meeting with Frederick and Rudy took place just 2 days before the fire itself. It was a tragedy. No one knows that better than I do.
This is so crazy. Jenks and I specialize in fire drills. Drills? Like practice. Not like disaster. I told you we have a system.
I wasn't there when Rudy and Jenks started the fire. I mean, I was homesick with the flu. So there isn't much I can tell you, firsthand anyways. I never usually miss, but my fever was pretty high, so my mother wrote a note. I'm generally very healthy. My mom says it's the genes. And I never usually miss. I won an award for it, actually. For attendance, an exceptional attendance award. I have a plaque, so I like to live up to it. Plus, it's so hard to get caught up. People don't take good notes, and you can ask, but it's not the same as getting it firsthand. So I just go, even if I have a cold or something, but my mom was really annoying about the flu. I've only missed 3 days. Not this year, my whole life. I'm a sophomore now, which means I've missed 3 out of 1,762 days, which is approximately 0.0017%. And we've missed 9 days so far because of the fire, but the whole school missed those, so that doesn't count. Anyways, the point is, I wasn't there, but I was supposed to be there. My mom keeps saying she's never been so grateful for germs, and she also keeps hugging me a lot. And my dad keeps saying that we should thank God because I had such a narrow escape. And I know it's true, I know they're right. I'm lucky that the fire happened on one of my 3 days, but all I can think is, I should have been there. I won an award for being there. And then when it mattered, I wasn't. I was just absent.
It's pathetic, really. I mean, no one's done a real investigative report on what actually happened. It's totally typical of, like, journalists, you know? They just write whatever they're told, and then everyone believes the same thing. Popular media is a cult.
I knew everything was going to be alright once my dad got there. My dad's a fireman.
Fire person.
Well, my dad's a man. Before that, he was in the military, a master sergeant. He got a Silver Star for valor. It's on this special shelf in the living room. It's a pretty big shelf, actually, but the only thing that's up there is my dad's star. One time, when I was 5, maybe 6, my team won first place in our soccer league, and I put my trophy up there. But my mom took it down and put it in the family room. It's not that she was trying to put me down or anything, it's just she was actually really proud. She took my whole team to get sundaes at the diner. It's just that there's only one thing good enough for that shelf, you know? That's when I decided to enlist. Make it a 2-star shelf, you know?
Fire Chief Abelman tells me that they have recovered Frederick Jenkins' lighter. Well, in fact, to be entirely accurate, they recovered the metal hood and the spark wheel and some very small warped flecks of green plastic. But they believe that these represent the remains of a big lighter, which has been identified as having belonged to Mr. Jenkins. If I've learned anything from all my 16 years of being alive, it's that the simple answer is usually the wrong one. Some examples. Algebra. Oh, my parents' divorce. Geometry. The plot of every single Shakespeare book ever. Dating guys. Breaking up with guys. It's complicated, so it's probably the same thing here with the fire. Don't you think?
I would have tutored Jenks. No charge or anything. I have this incredible study system. It's super effective. You start with 10 problems. Like, say you're working on the definite of x at the integral of x equals. The point is, it works. I think I might want to be a teacher. No little kids. Not like nursery school or kindergarten or 1st or 2nd grade. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I mean, I was a little kid, of course. It's just, I like hygiene. I don't want to be around pee or drool or poop, but older kids maybe. I think it might be fun to teach higher mathematics, like string theory or something. But for now, easy math is okay, like calculus. I think Jenks was in Algebra 1. I mean, yeah, algebra's okay. You gotta start somewhere. The point is, he didn't need a fire. He could have had me.
Look, I think Rudy and Jenks are about as idiotic as every other boy at Westfield. I mean, why do you think I date college guys? It's not really their fault, it's like the hormones or whatever. That's why I planned to date older guys my whole life. Until I reached the age of 39, of course, and transitioned into a cougar. But that's long-term stuff. The point is, let's apply some logic to this whole thing, right? I mean, Rudy and Jenks pulled the fire alarm on Monday. They got in trouble. Their parents, Principal Evans, everyone was watching them. The way my mother watches the sale rack at Macy's on Black Friday, and by that I mean very, very closely. So this is like the last time they would pick to commit their worst crime ever, don't you think? I mean, if they were planning to commit arson on Wednesday, don't you think that they just skipped the whole fake fire drill thing on Monday to avoid suspicion? Yeah, exactly.
We didn't even have a test that day, so why would we? Plus, me and Jinx just got in trouble on Monday for the whole fire alarm thing. We already had a month of detention, and Principal Evans said next time, suspension. My mother would have flipped out. You ever watch the Discovery Channel? Like the sand tiger shark eating its young? Like that, serious.
I was one of the first people out of the building. The school. Had a free period and was lifting weights in the gym. I didn't even mess around getting changed or anything, even though we were all pretty sure it was a drill. My father's really big on fire safety. obviously. And I knew he'd kill me if he'd heard I stopped at the locker rooms. I was pretty surprised when I got to the field and didn't see either my dad or the truck. They must have had to come to us from someplace else, which is unusual, but it happens. Or stupid people weren't pulling over in traffic. Most people don't realize that can add an average 3 to 11 minutes to a rescue mission. So next time you see a truck with its lights flashing. Anyway. I was standing in the field thinking that I was really going to smell when I got home. Not showering after I worked out. When I started to smell smoke. And then Principal Evans comes out, dragging like 3 7th graders behind her. I didn't recognize the look on her face. It was strange to me. And then I realized she was scared. She looks at me and goes, "Devin, for the love of God, call your dad. Call your dad." So I did.
The weird thing was, Rudy was the only other person to line up. Usually he's the last person out the door. Like on the last drill on Monday, I'm pretty sure him and Jenks were playing poker or something. But this time, he'd come up and asked if I knew where Jenks was. I was pretty sure he'd gone to the bathroom at the beginning of the period, but when I told him that, he didn't say anything, but his face turned a funny color and he went to Jenks' desk and checked his backpack. By then, everybody was lining up, so he had to go to the back of the line. So I went back there and asked if everything was okay. He didn't say anything. By then, Miss Simon was leading everybody into the hall, and Rudy just left the group for the stairs instead of down onto the athletic field. So I followed him. By the time you got to the stairwell, you could tell it was a real fire. My eyes were burning from the smoke, and I couldn't see very well. If it wasn't for my glasses, I would have been blind altogether. To tell you the truth, I'm not sure why I followed Rudy, except he just seemed so freaked out. Not that he was saying anything or doing anything, really. It's just, he has this thing that makes you like him no matter what. You know those people? Whatever it is, I don't have it, but Rudy does. He says the dumbest stuff sometimes, and I mean like crazy dumb. But you have to like him anyway. Even when he's doing something that should be super annoying, like setting off the fire alarm for the 1,000th millionth time, or rigging the water fountain so the water will shoot up your nose, or dropping the same pencil for like the 20th time in one class just so he can see it in Simon's skirt. She wears those heavy-duty Spanx, so I'm not sure why he bothers, but even when he's doing all that stuff, he's still sort of charming. But on the day of the fire, the charm had just kind of gone out of him, and he just seems scared, which is how I feel pretty much all the time, so.
My dad sounded pretty surprised to hear from me. He was using his "what are you doing out of class" voice. I asked him if he was off duty, which would have been really weird on Wednesday. But he said, "Nope, just playing cards with the boys." And I said, "Dad, you have to get down here." And then I pretty much stopped making sense after that. But good thing is, my dad, he's trained for situations like this. He said, "Son, I'm on my way." And I turned to Principal Evans to tell her that my dad was on his way, but she was already running back into the building. And that's when I realized my dad wasn't coming fast enough.
Yeah, okay. I knew where Jenks was. The boys' bathroom on the 3rd floor where he goes to smoke. If you don't want people smoking, then fix the stupid bathroom. I knew he didn't pull the alarm because he didn't pick his nose. Plus, his cigarettes were gone, so seeing as cigarettes are pretty flammable, I put 2 and 2 together, you know? At first, I just thought he was in a crap load of trouble. I mean, he was looking at suspension for sure. But then, when I smelled it, the smoke, I mean, you think you know what smoke smells like, but there's Dad's barbecue smoke, then there's burn down your school smoke. Anyways, when I smelled it, I just knew I had to get him out. I just had to get Jenks out.
After I got everyone out of the classroom, I had no idea what to do. I mean, I'd be really helpful in a cholera epidemic or an outbreak of the bubonic plague. So if you ever find yourself in the 14th century, I'm your girl. But in this case, I just did what I usually do. I panicked. And then I tried my deep breathing, which, as you can probably guess, was not a very good idea. Because of the smoke. So I passed out. Like I said, I'm no good in this century.
By the time we got to the top of the stairs, there was black everywhere. And I remember Rudy gagging. And at the end of the hall, there was just orange. And that's when Rudy started running. Not away from the flames, but toward them.
That stupid bathroom. It was all lit up, and there was just roaring. You wouldn't believe how loud it was. It was like this Five Finger Death Punch concert Jenks and I went to once. That was awesome. We made these fake VIP passes, and we were able... Sorry. Anyways, I tried to get in, but when I put my hand on the door to push it open, I've never felt anything so hot. And then someone crazy strong, got their arms around my waist and yanked me away. I thought it was a fireman, but I found out later that the squad wasn't even there yet. And then there was this unbelievably loud crack, like a gunshot. Then the door just fell forward, and everything was bright orange.
I can't even bench press 45 pounds. I know. I failed the strength test in PE this fall, but pulling Rudy off that door was nothing. I didn't even feel it.
When I woke up, I was being carried. Devin's dad was carrying me. So I knew we were being rescued, and everything was going to be okay.
The stairs were gone, but there were windows. I broke my foot.
Most of the burns were second degree.
I landed right in front of my dad's captain. He goes, "Valenti, how'd you get up there so fast?" And I started to answer him. But then he goes, "Ed, where's your gear?" And then I realized he thought I was my dad. He thought I was my dad.
Rudy and I landed kind of tangled up in the grass. Rudy was crying for a long time, so I started reciting things. I think I said the Pledge of Allegiance and all the presidents in order, the ones I could remember at least. When I ran out of presidents, I started reciting my family's grocery list, which I was supposed to be taking care of after school. Bananas, carrots, a head of lettuce, wheat bread, skim milk, Fruit Loops, paper towels, granola bars, and spaghetti sauce. I never did get any of those things, but I think I'm gonna have that list memorized for the rest of my life. Rudy's crying, real crying, is a lot different from his fake crying. It's uglier, less likable. I think that's the thing about being real. It makes you less likable, but more lovable.
Look, my source tells me that the fire squad didn't even know about the fire until a certain Westfield student called it in.
Yeah, me. I'm the source. They know I'm the source.
I apologize. I didn't realize we were operating on the record. The point is, that's fishy. What do you know about the fire chief?
He's my godfather.
Jenks wasn't a real smoker. I mean, his Aunt Deidre smokes like a chimney. He always said it made her sound like Darth Vader, which sounds cool, but it's actually disgusting. Anytime I saw him do it, he would light up, take like one puff, and then put it out to eat a candy bar. Jenks was insane about candy. Serious. One time, I dared him to eat 25 Snickers, king size, and he did it. It cost me $40. He didn't even throw up. And I was watching him like a hawk, because he would have had to give me my money back if he puked. I'm pretty pissed at him for hauling out a cigarette just to prove a point about detention. I told him to lay low. I told him.
My dad would have got Jenks too. He wouldn't have left anybody behind. He would have gotten them both. But I I couldn't. I couldn't just get into the bathroom. I tried, but I couldn't. I could only get Janice. I couldn't get Jinx. I couldn't get it.
I have noticed that when a teenager dies, their parents always have a lot to say about how remarkable they were. I have read a lot of these memorials and obituaries and Facebook pages. It's turned into something of an obsession. And they're all full of stuff like, she was remarkably kind, selfless, and sweet, or he was a brilliant scientist and a talented musician, a gifted writer, a genius at languages, the best son anyone could ever have. He never had an unkind word to say to anyone. My son, Fred, but his friends always called him Jinx, but he's named after my father, Frederick. He was pretty average. He wasn't remarkably intelligent, though he certainly wasn't stupid. He never tested into gifted programs, and he got C grades most of the time. He wasn't an uncommon athlete, and we stopped forcing him to take piano in 5th grade because we wanted to preserve our hearing. He had a lot of unkind words to say to people, like his sister and his father and his teachers and me. One time in 6th grade, he presented me with a contract in which he offered to stay in school if I promised not to hug him, kiss him, or tell him I loved him for the next 20 years. I refused to sign, and he got himself sent home from school every day for the next 4 days, sneaking a heating pad into school to elevate his body temperature and claim a fever. Listen, there is no doubt in my mind that he set off the Westfield fire alarm on multiple occasions in order to get out of tests and exams, and maybe even as a practical joke. But he's not a criminal. He was an average kid. He was my average kid.
They're not finished with the investigation, so you may or may not have to imply that you're a county prosecutor or a representative from the Department of Education to get your hands on the actual documents. Anyway, the lighter, or the pieces of lighter, were found in a different part of the bathroom than Jinx's body. Jinx was found locked in a bathroom stall. The lighter was found by the source of the fire on the opposite side of the room. They did find cigarette filter residue on Jinx's body, but it was near his hip, not near his fingers, so they don't think he was smoking at the time of the fire. The only other thing that they found was a bunch of tiny pieces of Snickers wrappers. They do this thing where they analyze the plastic and the dye. Call me crazy, but I don't think Jinx set fire to the bathroom with a chocolate bar. So I told you, Jinx did a lot of things wrong, just not this thing. The complicated answer is usually the right one.
I have taken 2 PSAT prep courses, 3 SAT prep courses, and 4 subject-specific prep courses. They were all very expensive, and I found them all equally unhelpful. They all say pretty much the same stuff. You have to study, and then you have to guess when you get stuck on a question, and you should never spend too much time on any one question. None of them tell you what to do when you get stuck on the very first question every time, and the tears come too fast for you to make an educated guess. None of them tell you what to do about that. I study. It's not a question of studying. It's not a question of practice questions or practice tests or flashcards or special courses. Where's the course that makes the crying stop? Where's the course that makes your parents okay with SUNY Oneonta instead of Harvard? I panicked, okay? I panicked, so I went into the out-of-order boys' bathroom on the 3rd floor just to do my deep breathing. I didn't know anyone was in the stall. I would have never done that stupid breathing if I'd known anyone could hear. The breathing wasn't working. It wasn't working at all. I just felt dizzy. So I sat on the counter and put my head between my legs. Just to stop the spinning, you know? And that's when I saw one of those plastic lighters on the floor. And I thought to myself, I have about 3 seconds to get out of this. So I put my AP prep book in the sink, and I lit the lighter. I just stood there for a second, and I watched the word test burn away. That felt really good. I didn't mean to start anything. I just thought it would set off the alarm and the test would be stopped. I didn't think about the paper towel dispenser next to the sink until after I was back on the classroom. If I'd thought about it, I would have pulled out all the paper towels. And I swear to God, I didn't know about Jenks. I didn't know the lighter was his. He must have had his seat up on the toilet seat, you know? And I didn't smell cigarette smoke either. If I had known, I wouldn't have shut the door. I would have taken him with me. I wouldn't have started the fire. Where were the firemen? Where were those firemen?
We had one fatality out of 796. That's approximately 99.87%, which is very good mathematically speaking, especially for a 3-alarm fire with late response. I looked it up and that's what our fire was, a 3-alarm, which is why it's weird that more firefighters didn't show up sooner to rescue us. I mean, not us, not me, the kids who were there who needed to be rescued. Anyways, 99.87% is very good, mathematically speaking. I'm getting kind of sick of math. I wonder what it would be like to teach Spanish.
We have had 29 fire drills in one semester. The state mandates 6. The teachers were behind in their curricula, and AP testing was upon us, not to mention SATs and PSATs and SAT2s, and then standardized testing for all grades. And our scores were down last year. The head of the PTA had requested a meeting and then the superintendent called. The district tracks the number of calls made from each school so they could track the number of false alarms, 23, which is not in the budget. Never mind the lost class time and our funding. Our funding. Of course, everything pales in significance compared to the lives of our students. But you have to understand. We had just had a drill that Monday. An unscheduled drill, which we knew to be a prank. And then 2 days later, another unscheduled alarm? How were we to anticipate? How was I to know? So yes, I held off on calling the fire squad. Just by a few minutes, maybe 6, 7 minutes. As soon as I could, I called. I had a student call. I didn't have my cell phone. But then it was too late. I know that. God, I know that. I know it's all my fault.
But Jenks' family was there. And I just had this enormous key to nothing. When we got home, Mom went straight to the shelf and put the key up there. I felt so embarrassed for my dad to see it. I went to take it down, but my dad came up behind me and put his hand on the key. I didn't even hear him until he was right there. And he goes, "What are you doing, son?" I couldn't say anything, but I think he knew, because he said, "That's what valor is, Devin. Just doing the best you can and living with the rest of it." Then he looks up at the shelf and says, "Now we have a silver and a gold."
I practiced my speech for Jenks' funeral a lot, you know. I wrote it down and I memorized it. I even asked Helen from my class to listen to it. I figured she was going to hear it anyway, so might as well. Then when I got to the church, there was this program thing, like for an assembly or a play or something. It had a picture of Jenks' face real big. He was smiling this weird smile like he'd just eaten a piece of cafeteria meatloaf. If you went to Westfield, you know what I mean. I have way better pictures of him right here on my phone. The one from last Halloween. We had that chicken liver convince his little sister it was a human heart. We told her we got it right out of the cemetery. James told her we got it right out of the grave. Yeah, so anyway. I didn't realize funerals had playbills. I guess it's so you can tell how long it's going to be till it's over. So I just checked to see who I was after. I wanted to get it over with right at the beginning. But then all it said was Invocations by Reverend Earl Little. And then Be Still My Soul by the Community Choir. And then Family Dedications by his mom, sister, Aunt Deidre, and his cousin Martin. And then Psalm 23. And then Procession. I even checked the back. Martin's his third cousin, by the way, once removed. And then Aunt Darth Vader? Seriously? Plus, Be Still My Soul? Everyone knows that Jenks' favorite song was You Don't Have to Be Old to Be Wise by Judas Priest. It was a terrible funeral. Everyone keeps coming up to me and asking if I'm okay. The answer is I don't know. No, not really.
Rudy?
What?
Oh, sorry,
No, wait. I never said thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't. I can't.
Bananas. Carrots. Head of lettuce.
Wheat bread,
Dove soap.
cottage cheese,
Skim milk.
Fruit Loops,
Paper towels.
granola bars, spaghetti sauce.